Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Spoilers. Sasha's willingness to forgive her mom could destroy Robert's romance with Diane. General Hospital, Spoilers claim Sasha Gilmore Corbin, Sophia Matson, has been anything but kind to her mother, Holly Sutton, Emma Sams, since the moment she flew into town and arrived on the Quartermain's doorstep. Sasha wants nothing from Holly and resents her for the incomplete childhood she had. While her grandmother was a loving and caring woman she will always be grateful to, her mother abandoned her and left her feeling rejected and unloved unless she helped with her cons. Wanting better for herself, Sasha has done a lot to reform who she used to be into the woman she is today. And she's not sure Holly is entitled to even be proud of that woman. The realization that Holly gave up her beloved diamonds to save Sasha's life may resonate in ways she doesn't expect, especially seeing as how Sasha could really use some familial support right now. Still, if she lets Holly back into her life, then she's bound to also open her arms to her father, Robert Scorpio, Tristan Rogers. What will that mean for his happy-go-lucky romance with Diane Miller, Carolyn Hennessy? Felicia Scorpio, Christina Wagner, is going to do a lot of talking on Holly's behalf, without having been asked to. Mother to mother, she understands the pain Holly must be going through, and for whatever reason, she thinks Holly deserves an unlimited number of passes in life. She wants Robert to open his arms to Holly again. And now she thinks Sasha should do the same. Luckily for Holly, it seems that her motives in saving Sasha's life and giving up her big diamond score will send a message that maybe she can redeem herself. Holly may not have to gravel or ask Sasha for another chance. It may be Sasha going to Holly and suggesting they try to be a mother and daughter again. Holly is desperate to get back into her daughter's good graces after years of being anything but a mother to her. Why? We don't really know. Is it all because she had to come clean about who her father was, and now she doesn't want Robert to look down on her? Is it because she thinks she'll lose Robert forever? Or has Holly finally seen the light and wants to be a mom, and Robert coming along for the ride would just be an extra benefit? Who is more important to her, Sasha or Robert? The fans seem divided on this front. Whether Holly wants Robert back or not isn't the question. It's clear that she would happily take him, even if just for a ride. But Robert is currently tied up with Diane, and it's unclear whether Diane is going to stick around for part 2 of this fiasco with Robert and Holly. Surprisingly, having a daughter with her was enough to take in. And Diane knew to expect that Holly would try to use their familial tie to her advantage. What she didn't expect was that Robert might fall for it. In the bustling heart of Port Charles, Robert Scorpio's relationship with Diane Miller had been progressing at a surprisingly steady pace. The two had found an unexpected balance. Diane's sharp wit complemented Robert's keen sense of justice, and their mutual respect formed the foundation of a blossoming romance. But like all things in Port Charles, their peace was short-lived, thanks to an unexpected twist: Sasha Gilmore. Sasha was at the precipice of a major decision that would shake Robert's world. After her tumultuous journey through heartache, loss, addiction, and imprisonment, Sasha had come to realize she harbored resentment toward her mother, Gladys Corbin. But recently, she'd been feeling the pull to forgive her mom, a woman who had exploited and betrayed her, but who, in Sasha's eyes, might just deserve a chance at redemption. This inner turmoil had gnawed at Sasha, and she finally sought Robert's counsel, as she often did with him, given his background in law and wisdom. One rainy evening, Sasha found herself sitting across from Robert in his office at the PCPD. She poured out her heart about the anger she felt toward Gladys and her desire to move forward. Robert listened, his arms crossed as he carefully considered her words. "So you're telling me you're thinking of forgiving Gladys? he asked, his brow furrowing as he took in the implications. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust her, Sasha admitted. But if I don't find a way to forgive her, I'll always be the one carrying the burden. I don't want to let her ruin my life any more than she already has. Robert leaned back, nodding thoughtfully. Forgiveness is complicated. It's about you more than it's about her. But are you sure this is the right move? Sasha looked down, her voice softer now. If I keep holding on to all this anger, it'll keep eating me alive. I need to let it go, even if that means giving Gladys a small place in my life. Robert's face softened, and his tone became more gentle. I can't pretend to know what's best for you, Sasha, but be careful. Gladys has done a number on you, and you shouldn't let her back in without some boundaries. Sasha nodded but sensed a tension she couldn't quite place. What she didn't know was that Robert's discomfort had more layers than she realized. Gladys Corbin wasn't only a thorn in Sasha's side. She also became a point of contention between Robert and Diane. Diane had warned Robert more than once to steer clear of the tangled mess involving Gladys and Sasha, afraid he might get dragged into drama that could damage his career or his heart. But Robert had a soft spot for people like Sasha, young, hopeful, and wounded, and that soft spot was where Diane felt she couldn't quite reach him. After Sasha left, Robert spent the evening mulling over her situation. He wanted to support Sasha, yet a voice in the back of his mind echoed Diane's advice. With each passing day, he could feel Sasha's reliance on him deepening, and he knew that Diane had begun to notice it too. Meanwhile, Diane was grappling with her own fears. As a brilliant attorney, she recognized the complexity of emotional entanglements, especially where family wounds were concerned. But it wasn't just her legal mind telling her this situation was a bad idea. Her heart knew it too. She saw Sasha as an undeniable wedge that could drive her and Robert apart if he wasn't careful. The next day, Diane decided to address her concerns head-on. She cornered Robert after a long day at the courthouse and didn't waste time with small talk. Robert, she began, arms crossed and eyes unwavering. We need to talk about Sasha. Robert exhaled, feeling the weight of the conversation before it even began. I had a feeling this was coming, he replied, meeting her gaze. Look, I'm not going to ask you to stop helping Sasha, Diane said, her voice softer than usual, but her tone firm. But you have to admit, she's leaning on you in ways that are starting to go beyond professional advice. Robert nodded slowly, trying to formulate a response. Diane, I get it. But Sasha's been through so much, and she doesn't have many people in her corner. She's struggling to find stability after what Gladys put her through. But Robert, where does it end? Diane interrupted, her frustration spilling over. Sasha is a grown woman, and yes, she's been through hell, but you're not her savior. She needs therapy, stability, and people who can support her without getting entangled. She's forgiven Gladys, and I have a feeling it's going to drag you into something messy. The room was thick with tension as Robert took in Diane's words. He knew she was right, but he couldn't help the tug of responsibility he felt towards Sasha. As much as he didn't want to admit it, he could feel the boundaries he once set with her slowly fading, and it unnerved him. Over the following weeks, Sasha continued to seek Robert's guidance, while Diane grew more distant. The strain became palpable, with each interaction adding to the tension between them. Diane, usually so composed, found herself struggling to keep her jealousy and frustration at bay. She began to wonder if her feelings for Robert were strong enough to withstand this complicated dynamic, or if she was merely setting herself up for heartbreak. Then came the day that changed everything. Sasha had invited Robert to a lunch where she formally forgave Gladys, a gesture she wanted him to witness. She saw it as a way to close a chapter, hoping Robert's presence would provide a sense of finality and support. But Diane's intuition told her this was a mistake, a situation ripe for trouble. When Diane found out, she felt a deep pang of betrayal, despite knowing she couldn't control Robert's choices. She wanted to be supportive, but her heart was breaking at the thought of him getting further entangled with Sasha's mess. And for Diane, it wasn't just about Sasha or even Gladys. It was the feeling that Robert was slipping away into a world where she couldn't follow. After the lunch, Robert returned to find Diane waiting for him at his apartment. Her expression was a mixture of hurt and resolve. "Robert," she began quietly, "I can't do this anymore. I can't be with someone who's so involved in another woman's life, especially when it's bringing nothing but trouble. I care about you, but I also have to care about myself." Robert felt the words hit him like a punch, but deep down, he knew she was right. He'd been torn between his responsibility to Sasha and his love for Diane. And in the end, he'd neglected the one person who had always been there for him. "I never meant to make you feel second to anyone," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "Diane, you mean everything to me." But it was too late. Diane saw the sincerity in his eyes, but the damage had been done. She smiled sadly, stepping back toward the door. "Sometimes, love isn't enough when the path is this complicated," she whispered before leaving, her footsteps echoing in Robert's heart. As the door closed, Robert felt the full weight of what he'd lost. Sasha's willingness to forgive her mother had set off a chain reaction that destroyed the one thing he'd cherished the most. He was left wondering if he'd made the right choice, or if, by trying to help everyone else, he'd ended up losing himself and the woman he loved.